Hello, podcast world.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Not Your Therapist podcast and our second episode. We're very excited.
Yeah, so today we're going to be covering anxiety and depression. So what that looks like for us and how we manage it.
We do want to mention that since we are talking about some more serious topics, that there could be some triggers in this episode. So if you don't like to listen to things about anxiety or depression, if you have it, then just proceed with caution because we don't want to, offend anybody or make any feelings come up that you weren't expecting.
Yeah. I mean, we will be talking about our own personal stories, so it is kind of just near and dear to us, but we also at the same time don't want to make anybody upset or anything like that.
No uncomfortable feelings are meant to be brought up in this episode. We just really want to share our stories, and we have a guest in this episode.
Yay! We are introducing our good friend Remy. Hi, Remy.
Hello.
We're very excited. We all kind of deal with anxiety and have our own journeys, so we thought that we'd bring somebody else on to just even get a third perspective. We all have very different just upbringings in general, I guess, and just nice to hear a different perspective, like I said.
Different perspectives, I think, are very important to hear about anxiety because there are so many types of anxiety and depression that it affects everybody differently. So you might hear some story about anxiety and be like, oh, that doesn't sound like me. And then you think like, that's not what I have, or depression, but it affects everybody differently. So I think the more perspectives we have in this episode, the better.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what this episode is kind of all about. So we'll jump right into it. It has been a little bit of a struggle this morning. Well, this afternoon now. We're about 2 hours in to try and figuring this out because it's our first time, obviously, recording separately. We are practicing social distancing. So, yeah, all the way on the other side of town is Brittany.
That's Kelly over there on 15 blocks away. Like, we're recording in our own houses at the moment.
And also on the mic is Remy.
Hi. Hello. Thank you so much, Remy, for wanting to be on this podcast. It's so much fun when we're able to have different people, like not even just on a podcast, but just listening to other people's perspectives on things. So thank you for being willing to be on this podcast with us.
Well, thanks for wanting to listen to what I have to say about everything.
Yeah, we always want to listen, so thank you. So Kelly, I wanted to ask you a question first, and then obviously we can all kind of get into that as well. I want to know, what do you think your anxiety was surrounding when you first started experiencing it?
Yeah, this is actually kind of a interesting / funny but not funny story. I can picture my anxiety starting way back when I was little, and I remember going to school and, for example, swearing at my teacher and thinking, holy crap, my mom's going to find out, and just having this sort of guilty conscience of having to tell her.
Right.
And I would go home and I would sit at home and just be like, oh my God, I'd be sweating and my heart would be racing. And the only way that I knew how to like get rid of that is like coming clean about what I did almost. And that would kind of like suppress it. And I think actually that might have stemmed from just feeling like I did something wrong and someone needing to tell me that it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's kind of like maybe like a judgment?
It could, and yeah, and then I see it manifest itself in other ways, like as I've gotten older, because obviously my problems have gotten like worse or different along the way, but I never could really place it as anxiety. Like I would be unhappy in my relationship, for example, and I felt like I would have to tell somebody that, and for them to say, oh no, that's totally normal for you to not want to have sex or something, for example. Right. And I'd be like, oh, okay, so that's okay. I should still be with him.
Yeah.
Just such like weird and so broad that I never really got to like place it as anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I read a book and it was by Vinny from Jersey Shore. I was like, holy crap. It was one of those books that I was just like, yes, that's what I have. It's like everything that he was saying, I was like, that is me. Mm-hmm. And so it changed it changed my way of thinking about it a little bit, in terms of at least I knew what it was and that I wasn't crazy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that everybody was like me. I didn't think it was normal, but I also had no idea what to do about it.
Yeah.
And it's really nice when you like first discover that someone else has been going through what you're going through. And I watched the season of Jersey Shore where Vinny was actually very open about his anxiety.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, wow, yeah, that's definitely what I feel too. Like, it's comforting in a way to know that somebody else feels the same way that you do, even though his anxiety could be like caused by something different.
Right. But
we all have very similar like symptoms or ways that it manifests. Part of what I started experiencing when I first, had the like panic attacks that I have had. So my anxiety was a little bit different. Like, I could be triggered by the most random things, in the sense that like I would get a panic attack because of, fill in the blank. Like, it didn't really make sense to me what it was. But the first time I had a panic attack, I obviously didn't know what it was. But I was in a car. So I started realizing like either I had claustrophobia, which I know now is definitely what it was, or I had panic attacks and feared the small spaces because my first panic attack was in a car.
Oh.
So yeah, like that's kind of what I started to connect it to, is that like that feeling I had was so awful that I was worried that if I got into another situation like that, I would feel it again.
So before you had your panic attack in the car, did you have any kind of anxiety before that?
Not anything that was like noticeable or anything that really disrupted my everyday life. But it was definitely just overthinking things. So just literally overanalyzing everything is something that I had done for years, like for as long as I can remember, really. And like part of it was hypochondria. Like, I always thought I had something. I'd constantly be like, what is this? What is this? Is this normal? Is this supposed to happen like this? So maybe that's what kind of like started to manifest into anxiety. Yeah. But then it's weird that it kind of turned into like claustrophobia. So I personally can't even tell anyone exactly what like started the anxious feelings when I was like really little.
So small spaces in general, or was it just any space that you felt like you were stuck in?
It was literally any space that I felt like I was stuck. So it could be like in a giant room, but it could be that we're not allowed to leave for whatever reason. Which actually I had a lot of anxiety during hair appointments, because it was something that like I couldn't leave whenever I needed to. Like, she needed to finish like cutting my hair, or, so weird now that like I think about it. Yeah. But there was a magazine that I was reading, and one of the articles was about a man who was having panic attacks, and he didn't know what they were. And that was actually the moment that I realized what I had was anxiety. So Remy, since our followers don't know you yet, I want to ask you a little bit about yourself first, actually, like where you're from, what your age is, so that people can kind of relate to you a little bit as we start talking about your journey with anxiety in this episode.
I grew up in New West. I was born in New West. I grew up a little bit in Burnaby and then moved back to New West.
Can't get away.
Basically. Forever. I'm 25 years old. I'm turning 26 this year. I do a lot of photography. That's kind of my main source of enjoyment and happiness, basically. When I'm not working, that's kind of what I try to do.
So obviously, since we have been talking about anxiety, we just would love to know how your anxiety journey has been, like when you first discovered that you were struggling with something, like some sort of, anxiety, depression, etc.
Yeah, I think it very similarly to you guys, like as a kid growing up, it wasn't something either people really talked about, so it wasn't something you had an idea about, really. So it's really only been in the last for myself anyway 5 years where I've actually had a chance to think about it and think about all the things that I used to do that oh, yeah, that was a big red flag. Like all these little things. Similarly to Kelly, actually, I used to be very scared to like not tell the truth, especially to like my mom. Like if I did something wrong, like I remember a story my mom would always tell people because I cheated on a spelling test when I was like 7, and I was like sitting on the toilet peeing, and I just started crying to my mom because I had cheated on this test. And like little things like that, like maybe that's like a silly thing, but like looking back on it definitely
it would just like ruin your day. You come home and it's weird because you would do it and then you'd come home and be like,
I did something
what
wrong.
have I done?
Yeah. And I'm still like that. Like if I fuck up, like I need to like talk to somebody and be like, I did a thing.
And I think that's the problem. Yeah. And I think that was a problem then, you know, how whatever many years ago is there was no access to resources or they weren't known.
Yeah.
And the only person you had to talk to was like your parents or maybe a close friend.
Yeah.
But I never told anybody.
Neither did I.
I was like, what the heck is wrong with me?
Definitely. And I think for me, like looking back on a lot of things, because I was an only child, so that definitely created a lot of different things for me growing up that I didn't realize were like why that was happening. Just like my anxiety with like talking to people my own age was a huge thing. Even like I've only gotten out of that in the last like 3 years or so. Like I can talk to adults. I've always been able to like have a rapport and have a relationship with adults, but when starting conversations with people my own age, it was just like the scariest thing for me. And I just felt so much like I felt like everybody was judging me. Like that was just the thing. And I feel like it was just because I wasn't always around people my own age. I don't know. It's just little things like that just kind of develop over time.
Yeah. I'm an only child as well, so I definitely like relate to you on the fear of talking to people your own age. That was something that I definitely struggled with a lot when I was really young, but because I moved around multiple times throughout my childhood, it kind of like forced me to be able to talk to anybody. But I definitely know that feeling before where it's like I'm around adults most of the time because I don't have anyone in my household that's younger or around my age. So you're only comfortable talking to adults for a very long time because it's just like something totally new to you, having all these people your own age around you, like at school or at the park or whatever. So,
which is very interesting because when I moved, that created like the most anxiety for me. But I think maybe it was because I was an adult.
Yeah.
And I moved across the country by myself. I guess that kind of helps. Not with my family. I think when I moved with my boyfriend at the time, and it just created this like feeling of like loneliness, that
isolation.
Like it was so crazy. And at that time, I think I was still kind of like getting to know my anxiety, and I just wanted to be happy in that place so bad that I was just like, no, stop it. It's fine. Like, I wasn't working. I was home by myself. I think that was like the closest to depression that I ever got. It was just like every day I was sad, didn't want to get out of bed. I just lay around. And now so like, even with this like whole COVID thing and thinking about not working, I'm like, there's a little bit of a fear there that if I'm not working or doing something or keeping my mind busy all the time, that I'll just like, go.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are struggling with right now, because part of what a lot of people do to cope with depression is getting outside of their house and socializing with people.
They distract themselves.
Yeah, some sort of distraction. And like right now, that's kind of impossible unless you live with a lot of people. So I can see how people would definitely be struggling with mental health, especially at this time.
Absolutely.
And Remy and I were even talking about it earlier, that even when I watch a show, I have to have my phone there also. Like if my mind isn't occupied 100% fully, I'm like, nope, gotta do something else.
It's like, because you're not going to be able to do anything else right now. So like if I stop doing something, I'm just like, I'm going to go crazy. So like I need to have things happening.
Part of me though wishes that I could kind of just zone out. Yeah. You know, like even when I take Tucker for a walk. I've taken him for 2 walks a day, sometimes with Spencer, sometimes not. But I am listening to an audiobook or I'm doing something. And sometimes I'm just like, can't I just turn it all off, take a nice walk by myself or with Tucker? But I think I would just be like, nah, 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 in
but
my
I think
brain.
it's okay that you like can just have a podcast, because like I'm the same way. I go for a lot of walks and I listen to music, and like if I have music on, and I don't know why I don't do it more often, just like when I'm in my room, because if I have music on, I am totally fine not doing anything, because I do that when I go for walks.
Yeah,
I do nothing and I listen to music, and that's a good like
outlet, kind of.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that how you guys would say is your easiest way of coping with what you're feeling, is like having the distraction?
Yeah. I'm still figuring that out, which is the worst part. Like,
Same.
I've only just started in the last year, like, tried to start figuring it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but unfortunately, sometimes it takes a long time.
Oh, it definitely does.
I think for me, with like wanting to start a family soon, I don't really want to go on medication, because I don't want that to interfere with, you know, my ability to have kids or like affect the pregnancy process or whatever. I just wanted to be as like natural in that way as possible. So even the other day I woke up like just thinking, what the heck is this world going to? I like just having a bad morning, day, whatever. And I kind of just woke Spencer up and was like, can you just like hold me for a minute?
Yeah.
And it helps in a way, but yeah, I think I'm still trying to figure that out too. Deep breaths, namaste.
Yeah.
I literally do though. It's like, okay, in 4 times, hold it out 4 counts, whatever.
Yeah.
Those types of things really do help. And it's funny because, well, not funny actually, it was really terrifying for me, because part of my anxiety is that like when you're claustrophobic, you feel like you can't breathe. And I didn't like to focus on breathing. So those types of things didn't help me personally. So I would definitely distract myself a lot with my phone, which is like fine to an extent. But it was like I got to a point, because mine was so bad, I got to a point where like I could not do anything at all without at least having my eyes on my phone like at all times. And I find that like I was ignoring people because of it. I was also saying no to a lot of things, because if I went, I knew that I would have a panic attack, and then like I would, you know, ruin somebody else's day. So like I just didn't like, I liked being around people because it made me feel happy, but at the same time I felt guilty about my anxiety because it was going to like interfere with somebody else's plans.
I can appreciate that actually. And I think that a lot of us, when we're feeling anxious, say no. And when I do find myself in situations where I'm feeling anxious, I feel like everyone notices.
Yeah. Yeah, so true.
Yeah. And that they're like, like I don't want to say they don't know how to deal with it, but even coming from a person with anxiety, being with a person that you know is anxious, you're like, God, that sucks. Like, what can I do?
Yeah. See, it's funny for me because like when my anxiety gets really bad, it's usually a mixture of depression and anxiety, and they come together very, very closely. Right. And there's always like oh God, like I need to talk to people right now, but also I don't want to burden people with this because it feels like it's always a thing. But also like people can usually tell when I'm having whatever it is I'm having, especially at work. I have a coworker and he always knows because I talk a lot, and when I'm not talking, he knows something's wrong, and he's the first one to ask. And there's part of me sometimes that's just like, I don't want to go to work because I know he's going to ask, or I know somebody's going to notice. But then there's also another part of me that's like, I want to go because they're going to ask.
Yeah, because you want to talk about it.
Exactly. So there's like a double thing going on, and it's just like, it's good, but it's also it's hard to fight against. It's funny.
That's why it can be so frustrating. And like people who don't experience anxiety or depression have literally no idea what it's like. And all of those thoughts going through your mind where they're like, well, why don't you just think like something different? Why do you have to think that way? Why don't you do something different? And you're like, well, if it was that easy, I wouldn't be feeling this way. Like, I'm not choosing to feel this way. And
Exactly.
I feel like
it's like, I know I sound like a crazy person when I explain this to you, but it's
Well, and Spencer, bless his heart, thankfully has really never dealt with anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, I think he has it more so a little bit around work, but I think that happens to a lot of people. Like if he's having to work on a job by himself, you know, those kinds of things. Trying to explain to someone that doesn't have it, because he's just like, it's okay, just breathe, it's gonna be okay. Like, or I'm feeling really anxious, and he's like, how come? And I'm like, I don't know.
Great question.
I'd love to know myself.
Yeah.
And mine's just so unpredictable sometimes. I could have done something a million times, like going to dance class.
Right.
And then one week I'm just like, why am I nervous or like anxious to go to class?
Yeah.
Like, this is what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
So little things like that. And it's hard, I think, being a spouse of someone and not understanding
and not knowing what to
and
do.
not knowing what to do, because it's like, I'm sure it's so frustrating to him, and it's frustrating for me too, because it's like I don't want to burden him with that, just like you don't want to burden your friends or whatever.
Exactly.
With it, it's like I feel like eventually he's just gonna be like, oh my god, you're so annoying, stop talking about anxiety.
I highly doubt he would ever say or feel anything like that.
But oh my god, that's my anxiety coming out.
Yeah,
Like,
there you go. Perfect
In a
example.
relationship.
Ooh, Remy's got something good.
Let's hear it, Remy.
You said, oh, I'm sure that wouldn't happen, but
My first like serious relationship, that was definitely at like the peak of my depression. It was rough. I was not dealing with things in a very healthy way at all. He definitely at one point was just like, you have to stop talking to me about it.
Ooh, yeah.
Because it's all the time and I don't want to like hear about it anymore. And when somebody says that to you, that's like a strong enough sentiment to like just carry with you.
Oh, of course.
For the rest of like your life,
Yeah.
right? Because like somebody who's supposed to love and care about you decides they don't want to hear it anymore. So you're like, okay, so everyone else must feel this way.
Exactly.
Too, because obviously this sucks to talk about.
or you think like to an extent everybody feels
Yeah,
that way, right?
exactly.
It's like,
It's enough to make you stop talking about it. Basically.
Yeah. Okay, so Remy, you said that at that time you were feeling more so depression. Do you feel like that anxiety and depression are sort of like on the same wavelength, or one leads to the other, or can there be completely separate in your life at one time? If that makes sense.
It kind of depends, and it's definitely like changed and developed in the last few years for sure.
Well, I can say that I think that there can be anxiety without depression.
Yeah.
But can there
sure.
be
Yeah.
depression without anxiety?
For me, it doesn't feel that way. Just because like for me in the last 3 years, I've developed panic attacks. So like when I'm feeling depressed, when I can feel that coming, I can feel panic attacks coming as well. For me, they're an all day thing. Like I feel like the tingle, the like numbness in my hands. That
Same.
happens.
It's honestly the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, and it starts like, it's not as bad as it was like the last like year or so, but yeah, it would definitely like start in the morning, and like I could still go out and do things, but I could feel it, and then eventually if it got bad enough, it would just hit me. Like that happened at work. I ended up having to go to the hospital because I got to work and I just like shut down, and I just ended up on the floor, and I couldn't like. So, like, it's very intertwined depending on what it is that's, I think, put me in, like, triggered me into that kind of thing. But it's definitely, the panic attacks and the depression, they definitely come together more recently, which sucks. But I can like, sense it, which is kind of good. Like, it kind of gives me more of, like, prepares me. Like, I know it's happening. I can text my boss, and he knows, he's aware of that kind of thing. And it's kind of just learning to deal with that.
Well, that's just it. And as your life goes on, like more things come up just in general that can bring you up, bring you down, or whatever. Yeah. So
I definitely feel you on the panic attack physical feelings, because I got to the point where like my anxiety, I'd say, started when I was probably about 13 years old, which I'm kind of curious if it also had to do with like puberty and like hormonal changes.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Which obviously changes the chemistry in your brain. So I'm wondering if like maybe that's what kind of kickstarted all of it. But I definitely got to the point where I was also having panic attacks like every single day.
Oh my God.
Which, and that lasted for years.
Yeah.
Like it was not just 1 year, but mine would definitely come in waves where like a year of feeling great, and then I'd have like a year and a half of just the constant anxiety all day, every single day. And that's why I used to get my parents to like stop the car because I couldn't be in the car anymore. And we'd be like on a road trip and I'm like, I cannot be in here anymore. We need to pull over because I just felt like I was going to die.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I can explain it is like I'm dying and I can't do anything to fix it.
Yeah.
The only way to kind of help was to like get away from the situation. I can't imagine going into a job where like they didn't get that and weren't okay with like what you were feeling and would just say like some people would go into work and they'd probably have a boss that says like, no, sorry, too bad. Like you got to just
up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that affects so many people. Also, the people in those people's lives just don't know how to deal with it most of the time because it's something that they don't experience. But it's really nice to know that like there are bosses out there like yours that are actually like, understanding.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the fact that it's so unpredictable, especially for me, like you said, Brittany, I could go however long, months without feeling anxious one day.
Yeah.
And then, for example, like surrounding my wedding, I had so much anxiety all the time. And I don't think it was like the commitment part by any means because Spencer and I were already married. We like got married just by ourselves almost like 8 months before our reception. But I had so much anxiety around inviting my dad and, like, what is the whole day going to look like? Is he going to act weird? Am I going to act weird? Are people going to notice that he's not, like walking me down the aisle, that we're not having a father-daughter dance? And it's like everything was so heightened, I think.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And
the expectation.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. Like my bachelorette party, I was anxious the entire time. I was like, is everybody having fun? Is this how do you do it? Like, is this what the cool people do? I don't know. Like, I wanted to make sure I was doing everything right and everybody's having fun. Right. And it's like, oh my God, like get lost. Yeah. I remember I was with my maid of honor in our room and I like woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, you need to help me right now. Talk me down from this. Figure this out here because holy crap, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like what you've been explaining has a lot to do with like your people pleasing type personality. So like it's almost like your worth is determined by like, can you keep other people happy?
Yeah, and that's exactly what my therapist says, and that totally
oh, interesting.
And that oh my God, Brittany, you're like my therapist.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that stems from like me not getting the love that I was supposed to get from my dad. Like he, kids grow up and they like learn how to love from their parents, and then if you don't get the correct love, then I feel like I spend my life like searching for like that validation, I guess, from other people. Yeah. And I explain it like it's not that I'm insecure, if that's the right word. Yeah. I know that I have like a lot to bring to the table and like that I'm a good person, but I search for people to validate that.
Still just gotta make
rather than myself. Do you know what I mean? And that's what she said, like you need to learn to like love yourself. And I do, but I also want people to tell me that too. Like my love language is very like walk the walk. You can tell me you love me all you want, but like frickin' prove it or no thanks. Yeah. And that comes with like when I said last episode when I was like, if I text you and you don't answer, you're either dead or you hate me.
That's me.
Yeah. I wonder what caused so many of us to feel that way, like needing that affirmation.
Yeah.
My next question was going to be like, did you seek professional help or advice? Or like, what is it that you found helped at home and in public?
I mean, I've only recently started going to like therapy and I haven't been a lot, but I do find that it helps. in the way that you're talking to somebody, for one, which you can, I do find relief talking to anybody about it. And I think the little piece that's missing when you go to a therapist is they're just educated. I think they know what to say. I think they know they know the why, and they can explain that to you. Yeah. And then it helps. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The last time I went, she was, like I said, talking about my dad and how that I kind of need to just like let it go and just know that like he loved me the only way that he knew how, and not that that was the right way, but that was
what he believed.
Yeah, that was either what he knew or just the kind of person he is. That's all he can offer you. So you have to kind of like take it, pack it up, and walk with it, because that's what it's going to be. It's not going to change. And you just have to like, if there is any communication or whatever, appreciate it, take it for what it is, and then like move on with your life. Yeah. And literally like 3 days after he called, which was super weird, he has not called me one time since August. Yeah. Like since he came to the wedding, he has never called, and then he called. Yeah. So freaking weird. The universe is so weird. But anyway, I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. And I didn't call him back right away. I just kind of like sat on it, called him, had a conversation, moved on. And like knowing and like thinking about that and her explaining that to me really helped for me.
Yeah. So I guess it's just kind of finding that way to disconnect somebody else's behavior to your own worth.
Yes.
Like, which I guess is, it's very hard to do, obviously, but like it's something that so many people struggle with. It's good that, you know, you've been able to find a way to like work on that with your dad, I guess, or maybe not with your dad, but like work on your own feelings.
I don't know. I definitely only in the last year, half a year, maybe less, I don't know, started to like really try to figure it out, because like there was always so much going on at home. It just wasn't being talked about, because there was just not more important things, but just more
other things,
centered things going on.
Right.
And I did start using that app, BetterHelp. Where you talk to a counselor, just because
it's an app.
Yeah, it's an app.
And you like chat with them, or you actually call them?
Yeah, no, you text them. So you like fill in your information and stuff, the type of person you might need, and then they set you up with somebody. And
is it the same person every time?
Same person every time.
And are they like?
Oh, that's awesome.
What kind? Like, are they counselors?
Yeah, I think they're a counselor. They're not like, they can't prescribe you medication or anything like that. But it was just like I know myself, and I'm very good at convincing myself not to go to things. Yeah. So it just worked better for me to know that I could just pull out my phone when I needed. But it was super nice just to be able, like, I'd be at work having a panic attack, and or like I could feel something coming, and I would text her, and she'd be like, and she would work it through with me.
Oh,
or
that's
just
amazing.
Even if she couldn't get back to me right away, she would send me like exercises I could do and things like that. Even if I didn't always necessarily do them, it was nice to just know there was somebody that knew what to say, that knew
that is so cool. I really
was happening.
Like
that is one great thing about our time that we're living in, is the accessibility to things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's made me more comfortable also talking to like if I don't have anybody to talk to, I'll text a friend kind of thing. And it's made me more comfortable to do that, because I do have like one of my best friends has also gone through anxiety and depression, and so like I'll text her sometimes, and it's nice to be able to text all my friends about that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's great.
Because it's funny. I've always like what I said before, like having a good rapport with adults and things like that. Although that's a thing, I have never felt comfortable talking to adults about my anxiety and depression. I've always wanted to talk to people my own age. Like even like when something bad is happening, I didn't want them to hug me. Like I didn't want any. It was the weird. I can't explain it, but I'm just like. Yeah.
I feel like part of that could be because like my parents, when I was really struggling with my anxiety when it was the worst, they were like, it's weird, like I never heard anybody talking about it when I was younger, or I never felt anything like that. And I don't know a lot of adults that have actually talked about anxiety, and a lot of them that I've heard of seem to say like it just didn't exist back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I feel like is totally fake. I think people just were not comfortable with talking about it.
Nobody talked about anything.
They're just like, or they would just be told,
deal with it. Yeah.
Just deal with it,
Yeah.
So I think people our age and this generation are a lot more accepting and open to it because people are okay with talking about it now and not feeling like super judged.
Yeah.
That probably has a lot to do with it, not being comfortable talking to like adults.
Yeah.
I do find that they sometimes don't know what to say, or a lot. I think I've noticed that a lot of them are kind of use the like, oh, we'll just brush it off. Like, it's okay. Like, everything's okay. Like, you're happy, right? Like, oh, it's not that bad. And
they don't see the layers underneath it.
Yeah.
There's nothing deeper. I don't know. It's funny.
Like, when I talked to my mom about it, she was like, well, are you depressed? And I'm like, no, like, you can have anxiety without being depressed. You can be happy and still have anxiety.
Yeah.
And in her mind, she's just like, oh my God, it means like she's not happy in her life and she's super depressed. And I'm like, no, I'm just like talking about these feelings that I have randomly. Like, I can't tell you why it's happening. I can't tell you the actual feeling. It's hard to describe, but people just don't understand it, which is why I think it's important to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
And so, Brittany, how you deal with it?
I have medication.
Yay!
So I never actually went to therapy, which is something that I probably should have done years ago when I first started like experiencing it so bad, to the point where like I didn't want to leave my house. I couldn't even go on walks without having a panic attack. Eventually, I guess it was because I thought that I had to fix it myself. Because if I didn't fix it myself, then I was weak or, you know, whatever it was. So then eventually I was like, no, that's not a good, healthy way to think about it. It's so normal to go out and get help from other people, whether it's therapy or actual medication. And my doctor decided that medication was going to be the right thing for me. So I've been on it for 2 years. It has, like, honestly changed my life. I don't have panic attacks every single day. Honestly, I rarely ever feel like that same anxious feeling. And I know medication wouldn't be right for everybody, but it's what worked for me, and I'm still super happy with it. So that's what I'm doing in a healthier way of coping. But I guess before, like, I actually drank way more when I had the bad anxiety, because I felt like if I was drinking, it would kind of make it go away. It would like relax me a little bit more. So I found that I was like drinking way more, not to the point of like being an alcoholic or anything, but I was definitely using it to kind of like self-medicate. Like I would drink more at home when I don't usually drink that much at home. And it's just, I realized like that my like choices were changing. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I was doing it like so often, and it's something that I didn't do before, where I was like, this probably isn't a good way to deal with my anxiety.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it was making you uncomfortable. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You were aware of it.
Yeah. It was a change that I didn't want to happen because of the reason why I was doing it. So, yeah.
I did go on medication actually just for a short period of time. Like, I would get like 20 pills and I would take as needed. And it did really help. Like, if I was feeling, especially when I moved, that's when I had it. And when I was like feeling really bad, I would take one and it would help a little bit. Then when I started to like run out, I was like, oh God.
Yeah, it creates like a whole new problem where you're like, what if I run out? It's like a brand new thing that you have to be anxious about.
Yeah, so I had some around the wedding, which was in August, and I just like ran out the other day when I was like feeling super anxious. So we'll kind of see how it goes. I just don't, like I said, with like pregnancy and stuff, I'm like trying to stay away from it because there aren't too many like ones that are okay while like breastfeeding or while pregnant or whatever. So I'm like, body, hold up on me, please.
Just keep going.
But I definitely, and that's a whole nother situation, is like getting pregnant, and like my fear that I said last time was like being a bad parent. And so then it's like a whole nother situation. So I'm open to the idea of medication because obviously I want to like have a healthy pregnancy, be a good mom. And so if that is what I have to do, then that's what I have to do. But hoping I don't have to go there.
It's like the whole airplane when the stewardess is like, put your own mask on before helping others. Like, you got to make sure like you're healthy, you're happy.
Touché, Brittany.
Balanced, right?
Yes.
Got to take care of yourself.
Touché.
Exactly.
So in this time now with the COVID-19 virus and having to self-isolate and social distancing, what are some fun things that you guys have done to like stay positive?
I've been doing puzzles.
Oh my God, I love puzzles. Yes.
Except I'm on a really hard one and like, now it's just frustrating me.
Oh no. The good times have been interrupted by a difficult puzzle.
Yeah. And cooking. I've been cooking a lot more. Actually, like trying to enjoy it. And obviously watching and catching up on my reality TV series.
Of course.
Duh.
I've been trying to read more. I'm also supposed to be studying for a course that's in May. Haven't really done that. It's going great.
Yeah.
The photography thing, trying to keep creative, very difficult for sure, but I'm, trying to force myself to do anything. Yeah, mostly just a lot of Netflix and yesterday I went out for a really, really long walk. So that was nice. Got out with my camera a bit. I do miss other people too, because I'm a person that is always out with people, and this is it's rough.
I've been listening to audiobooks, which I listen to whenever they're available because I listen to them on the Libby app. So like sometimes I have to wait, but I've been listening to a book called Girl Stop Apologizing.
Oh, so good.
Yes, she wrote the Girl Wash Your Face. Is that what her other book was? I think it's Rachel Hollis is her name. I've been listening to that. I love it. She has like such a fun way of talking about things like that she's gone through and just helping everybody else feel normal and that it's totally okay to feel certain ways and to fail at things and restart. So I've been listening to her book. I think it's been like nice. And then obviously also like walking Luna has been great because it makes me go outside. Not that I wouldn't even if I didn't have a dog, but like it's a nice reason to be able to go outside and walk with her. So yeah, I guess like those are some positive things that have helped me stay sane, even though since I work from home already, it hasn't really changed that much for me. I don't normally see that many people during the week, so I'm like, it's kind of normal for me.
So like we said last episode, we are going to try and do sort of a mental health series of sorts. So this one was obviously surrounding anxiety and depression. Our next episodes of the series will touch on kind of different subjects in terms of mental health and that kind of stuff. But in terms for the remainder of this episode, I think it's important to touch on if you know somebody, you're a friend of someone, you don't have anxiety or you do, and you're wanting to support them, I think that we should kind of talk about good ways to do that.
I've had a lot of people do other people have it worse than you.
Yeah, like don't downplay it.
Yeah, don't downplay it. Like that's definitely a big one for me. I've had people say that to me so often, and it kind of just, it halts you.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to want to talk about it anymore. So I think just actually letting the person say how they're feeling and actually just listen. Even if you don't have anything to say, just tell them, I will listen to you. Yeah. Just tell me how you're feeling and I will do my best kind of thing. But yeah, don't downplay it. Don't make them feel like what they're saying is crazy, because I promise they probably already feel like they're crazy.
Yeah.
Right? They're talking about it.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
None of us are therapists in this room anyways, but making the person feel supported. So listening for sure and offering your help in whatever way possible. And I think that's
ask them what they want.
Yeah, ask them what they want, what they need, and what you can do to support them.
I don't want to say something, but just kind of let them go through that feeling, because especially if it has to do with panic attacks, there's kind of nothing that somebody else can do to stop it. So like if you do know somebody who suffers from panic attacks, just let them kind of write it out, but also let them know like I'm here for you if you want to talk about it. What helps, maybe some people like to be like physically held during a panic attack. I am the opposite, so like I would want people to just kind of like back off, but it's nice to just ask what helps in those situations. And then obviously if depression is different about it, you could, you know, just ask them as well, what helps? Do you want to talk about it? Same kind of thing, but there might be like physical differences in what you can do. So yeah, just kind of support them and listen to them. That's the main thing for sure.
And I think once you find someone that you trust or whatever, for if you are that person for someone, I think checking in with them,
right?
Maybe, you know, the next day or whatever, just kind of checking in and saying like, how are you doing today?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I like that.
Absolutely.
I just personally don't like feeling babied though.
Yeah.
Or like pitied.
Yeah.
I like to still feel normal. But obviously like it's still like a situation that's happening. So yeah, I like to feel supported. I like to feel, like I said, my love language is very like talk, touch, and those kinds of things. So I don't personally have panic attacks. I don't know if I said that, but so like when I'm feeling like anxious, I like to be held and like talked to. So that's for me.
Yeah. That's why I think it's important to ask, because like it is so different for everybody. You don't want to like make it worse, so just like talk to them and see like what can I do in the future to help in that situation.
Okay, so I will end just the topic of anxiety and depression on that. If you know someone that is going through struggle of any kind in Canada, you can visit crisisservicescanada.ca. There's a bunch of resources there. You're also able to text 45645 for tech support, or
That's
the
awesome.
app that Remy just said. What is it? BetterHelp?
BetterHelp. Yeah.
That was so cool. I like that one.
I really like that
That's
too.
really cool.
Very good to know.
Okay, so we have what we're going to do with our guests is that we are going to ask them just 2 fun questions to end the episode, especially in these ones, so we can just end on a lighter note. Okay, Remy, if you could disinvent one thing, what would it be and why?
What? That's so hard.
Oh.
Actually, wait,
okay.
Hold on.
No, that's fine. You're supposed to just do it's rapid fire, Remy.
Oh, God. The fucking beeping noise in the popcorn machines at the movie theater, because I worked at the movie theater for 5 years. And I'm pretty sure when I die, all I'm going to hear is the beeping that the popcorn is ready.
Remy also suffers from PTSD.
From popcorn machines.
Oh my God.
That is too funny. I was not expecting anything like that. That was great.
This is what rapid fire is all about. Next question.
Next question. What is one thing that you've tried and you will never, ever try it again?
Skiing.
Skiing, okay.
1, because I fell and then didn't get up for 15 minutes. And 2, because they had to stop the chairlift because I didn't jump off in time.
No.
So not gonna do it again.
Fair enough.
Yep.
You tried it, don't like it,
Yeah.
not doing it again. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll never. I mean, I've never been skiing, but if I did, I will not ask you to go.
I'll watch. It's fine.
She'll cheer on with a glass of wine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, to end this episode, we will discuss what our therapy was for the week. Remy, we do this on our episodes. We just kind of talk about something that good that happened to us this week. So it could be literally anything that what made you smile or made you happy.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, on Monday, because it's been rough being like alone, I had a 3-way call with my friend Chris and our friend John, who's all the way in Germany.
Oh,
and
nice.
we had like an hour 3-way call, and that was just super nice. And it kind of just like, it was at like midnight, but it made my entire day. And just definitely,
I love that.
Aw.
Yeah. So that was nice.
Really cute. That's so nice. My therapy this week has been just kind of virtually planning our basement suite that we're working on. So I love looking through Pinterest and getting ideas for like cabinet colors and, you know, paint, decor and stuff like that. It's so much fun, and it is actually very therapeutic to like pick out things. It's starting to get like a little bit stressful, but like up until that point, it's definitely been my therapy because I enjoy doing it. But now it's getting kind of like down to the wire where we need to actually choose these things soon. But I do enjoy like
it's not just a board you have to
exactly. You're like, wait, I can't do this for like ever. I can't just like keep changing. I need to pick something. What? So yeah, but other than that, like I really enjoy like picking designs and making decisions on stuff like that. So it's been fun.
I think mine is that my cat came for a walk around the entire block with me.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Wait, like not on a leash.
Like such a loser.
That is the greatest.
No, he just followed us.
I love that.
Well, me and Tuck.
Mine does that too.
It's so funny. And I was just like, oh my god. And then he like fought a cat on the way. It was just like very eventful. And I just like was laughing the entire time because I would just like, he would just come like prancing along beside us. I'm like, oh my god, this is my life right now, walking with my stupid cat. And that's when I turned into a crazy cat lady.
That was the moment.
I love that. Wait, was it Mo
fun.
or was it Taz?
No, it was Taz.
It was Taz. Aw.
Yeah. He's obsessed. So
cute.
He wanted to hang out. Okay. On that note, I think it wraps up our episode 2.
Woo!
Thank you again, Remy, for joining us.
Yeah, we're so happy that you came on and wanted to talk. So thanks so much for listening to our second episode. We hope you like it. Check out our Instagram @NotYourTherapist, and you can also email us any questions or topics that you want us to talk about at notyourtherapist@gmail.com.
Until next time.
Adios.